What is up, everybody? My name is James D. Fiore, and this is Blackballed. So we have a special show tonight. I want to start off just by stressing how rare it is that we're going to be doing a show that features the content that we're featuring. You know by now, if you've ever watched the show that we extensively cover the stories of ex-members of the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. Tied into that are stories of abuse, are stories of by following something that they call the doctrine of separation, a story of heinous behavior that amplifies the separation of families that are forced to make choices between their faith, which has been weaponized by this group, and their actual family members. And more times than not, they will choose the church over their family members. And tied into all of this is the network of companies that are owned by the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, known as the UBT. And tied into that are the suspicious ways in which they make money, especially as it pertains to government contracts, and most especially as it pertains to COVID, in the securing of PPE contracts, often by companies who have never dealt with anything that's related to PPE. But behind all that, the wizard behind the curtain is a man named Bruce Hales. Bruce Hales is the leader of this cult. He is also a person that the followers of this cult believe has a direct line to Jesus himself, which is pretty awesome. I don't know if he... sometimes I'd like to know how much leaders actually believe in their own shit. I suspect he believes none of it. But what we have today is something that I believe is a first worldwide, which is we have the voice of Bruce Hales himself pleading and trying to convince and basically grifting his followers to the tune of $500 million. He's soliciting donations and asking people to really reach down, like they're not giving enough by giving him their lives and a lot of their money as it is. And here to help me with this exclusive are two ex-members of the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, Cheryl Hope and Richard Marsh. Guys, how are you?
Good. Ready to do this.
Yeah.
Did I Richard, let me just ask you a quick question off the bat. Did I overstate what we are about to do today on this show?
You understated it. No, this is really unprecedented. This guy has been underground for 30 years. He's never been seen in public except for one bizarre single kind of choreographed appearance at a charity barbecue, of all bizarre things. He travels in a blacked out limousine with security Range Rovers front and back. And when he arrives at a meeting hall, Brethren Church building, they hire a large marquee which they put over the door, large enough for his limousine to drive right into. So the kind of presidential convoy will sweep through the gates. His limo will drive right inside the marquee. They'll then seal it shut. And then he gets out inside the tent and enters the meeting hall. And then the whole process in reverse when he comes out, which apparently is not just that he's publicity shy, but it's anti-sniper precautions.
Yep.
So he literally is never seen in public. You won't find him in any of the celebrity magazines on the beach with his girlfriend, which is probably a good thing. But yes, and even his voice is a mystery to the world at large. It's only heard by the faithful right until this day.
And they actually have the members of the congregation watch rooftops for snipers when they are doing this exchange, going in and out.
Yeah.
How much of that do you think is theater?
Oh,
I'm
lot
sure.
of it, yeah.
I'm sure it all is to make the hype about how big he is, and this is the man of God that's coming to whatever church he's going to, right? Oh yeah, a lot of it's dramatic theater.
Yeah, and it's also theatre to make people that they call opposers, like Cheryl and myself, people who speak out against the cult, to make us look even more evil. Because, as far as his followers are concerned, gosh, those are totally wicked, because our poor dear leader has to protect himself against snipers,
Yeah.
I'm
pretty sure Jesus would
take. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Jesus, if he came to the earth, would probably handle his public appearances in the same way, right? Like SUVs,
right?
He didn't last time he came, but you can speculate whether things have changed in the interim. But I would think things were considerably more dangerous for him. I mean, it didn't end well, did it?
No, it didn't. And he he was like, "Oh, you're going to nail me to a cross? All right, Judas, don't worry about it, brother. It's all for a big plan. We're good. Let's go, and I'll get nailed to a cross." Like, he was brave about it. And Bruce seems to be kind of cowardly.
A coward. Yeah, big fat coward.
Absolute coward.
Yeah. So, Richard, set this up. You were really excited when this kind of landed in our laps, and you sort of gave me a rundown of what we are about to hear today. So I want to preface this by saying, because today what happened is I was going to intro the show with I was going to see if I could find a Jim Jones clip. And for those who don't know, Jim Jones is a cult leader, famous. That's where drinking the Kool-Aid comes from. He got all his followers to drink Kool-Aid laced with cyanide, and there was a mass suicide. Because I think the FBI were closing into the location or something like that. Anyways, he was considered to be a really compelling speaker. Bruce Hales, not so much. So I scrapped the idea of trying to intro this with another cult leader because, frankly, Jim Jones can speak circles around Bruce Hales. So I'm prefacing that because while this is a worldwide exclusive, no one's ever kind of done this before. You're not going to hear a compelling, charismatic speaker. What you're going to hear, though, is somebody who's worth about $1 billion. At least collectively, his family is worth over $1 billion for sure.
Oh yeah.
And that's not enough for these pigs at the trough, because apparently they would like to find a way through the auspices of an endowment fund, are trying to his followers. He's trying to convince his followers to give even more so that he can accomplish his alleged goal of raising $500 million for this endowment fund. Can you expand on that and sort of explain what we're about to hear today?
Cheryl actually got the first information, which was that there was a fundraiser, a global Plymouth Brethren Christian Church fundraiser upcoming, that seemed to be particularly significant. And the thing that was striking about the invitation to this fundraiser is that it was a Zoom fundraiser. In other words, it's, the brethren all have cult supplied kind of large screen Zoom systems, like a television plus camera, but one that doesn't do regular TV channels. It's just used for, brethren meetings and communications. So they got the notification they were to attend on the Zoom screen with the camera turned on, so the broadcaster could see them, that it was going to be a fundraiser and that they should attend, and this was the really, really creepy and weird thing, that they should attend in church attire, church clothing. And brethren have quite strict clothing rules for church attendance. You can't wear T-shirts. You have to wear a proper button-up shirt, and you have to wear dress pants, and you have to have your shoes polished. And the sisters, as they call them, have to, have very decent and covered-up dress and long skirt. Church and also they would sit in church formation, which means that the males all sit in the front row and the females have to sit on a back row. So in their own houses, in their own living rooms, they have to set up, 2 rows of chairs, one for the men and one for the women. Now this is very bizarre because, yes, that's what they do for their church meetings, but it's not the kind of thing you do for a fundraiser. Anyway, after this fundraiser took place, a 30-minute video presentation, we found out why the church attire was required, and that is because the fundraiser contained at the beginning and end 2 audio clips of Bruce D. Hales. And Bruce D. Hales, James says he has a direct line to Jesus. That's an understatement. The man is Jesus to his followers.
Yes.
He is the manifestation of God on earth. Every word he speaks, it's coming from the mouth of Jesus. And such is their awe and reverence for this rather chubby Australian businessman that even if you're listening to an audio clip of him, you have to be properly dressed and you have to be sitting in proper church formation, and the women have to sit on the back row because otherwise that would be disrespectful. So anyway, we by devious means, and thanks is owed to persons unnamed, obtained the audio of this fundraising presentation, and that is even more shocking.
Yeah. Cheryl, tell me how significant this is, what we're about to hear tonight.
You know what? I got to find words to put what
I noticed you're wearing lipstick tonight. I feel like you're like celebratory. Almost.
This is a big deal.
This is huge.
A big deal.
So, and I don't want to come off as I don't want to pressure people. But if after you hear this and you're not fired up to do something, I don't know what else. This is, for me, I thought I had my gloves off before, not now. My gloves are really off, and we have to deal with this shit now. You go back to this description you give of Jim Jones and what a great speaker he is, and Mr. Hales isn't, which actually makes us even more sad that this fat ass dude can sit and literally brainwash 55,000 people with how he talks. It's, for me, this gets me more fired up to help my family inside. And you know what? This system isn't a system that's broken. This system is doing exactly what Bruce Hales has intended. He has got 55,000 slaves underneath a temple to do whatever he fucking wants. And
yeah. I
am pleading with every ex-member that is out there, that has been on the sideline, that have been underneath the curtain, been kind of in the background. You cannot turn your back on this. You can't. Your family's in there. They don't have a voice. They have no clue what they're about to do. This is super, super pertinent to what we are doing tonight. And everybody needs to listen and really realize what we're up against, because you know what? The Kool-Aid is next.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to start by playing the first clip. I'm going to also post, I'm going to place the transcript of what we're listening to on the screen as well. So for people that are listening, just try your best to sort of follow along. It's easy to understand, but we're going to have to sort of break it down a little bit and parcel out some of the key information bits when we're done listening to the clip. But I'm going to play it right now, and then and when we come back, we'll unpack it. And this is going to be mostly Cheryl and Richard unpacking it, because as ex-members, and I think we've emphasized it already, but we're going to continuously emphasize it throughout the show. As ex-members, listening to the leader, Bruce Hales, talk like this, especially for public consumption like we're doing tonight, is completely unheard of. It's a first. So I'm really mostly interested in what you guys have to say about this. But I'm going to play the first clip now, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Neville mentioned the endowment fund idea. I think it's worthwhile just going back a little bit in time, back to those early 90s, And we've already gone over the way JSH introduced it. It was very interesting. I'm sure everybody knows this, but there was Athol Green and my brother Steve, John Anson and myself. And I'm pretty sure it was in the first vacation of the school year at MAT in '94. We decided to have a bit of a meeting. The meeting was, well look, we've paid for the buildings, that's all debt free. How are we going to keep going? Or what are we going to do to raise money for the expenses? We had 2 staff, but we knew we had to get more, and we were running it honestly very lean, extremely lean. And the 2 things he said were, that I clearly recall, was put the school into business and start an endowment fund. Well, he must have had a vision. We obviously had a vision, but he also understood that we paid for the capital expense, and we'd done there was a lot of gifting, a lot of generosity, and it wasn't a problem at all. But he could see that the ongoing long-term sustainability, and I suppose he was looking ahead 25 years, but it's 23 years now, isn't it? So at least he was looking ahead at least 25 years, probably 30 years.
Because of your generous donations, we are building our future.
Okay, let's just like forget about the fact that that creepy thing at the end happened. Now, what is he talking about there, Richard?
Yeah, what he's talking about, he refers to the way JSH said it on. JSH, that's John S. Hales, that's his father. And typically, he always refers back to his father to give credibility to everything he puts out. Now, I suspect that his father never made any such reference to an endowment fund, but it's just kind of his way of making out that this is an idea that dates back to his father's reign, and he's picking up on it. He's talking about when the Brethren first started setting up their own schools, and it started out in Sydney, Australia. Again, this was his father, John Hales' idea. So they kind of set up a pilot school in Sydney, Australia. Just had, as I said, 2 staff is the very beginning of the project. And so he's just, and now of course all that they've got 9,000 students now and 200 schools. Every Brethren's child of school age is in a Brethren school. So he's just kind of going back to the origin and setting the scene of why they need an endowment fund, or what the idea of the endowment fund is. There's nothing very radical there. The kind of really interesting bit is what happens next. This is just the intro. And it's kind of interesting that this guy who's coming out to ask for a cool $500 million couldn't even be bothered to get off his butt. He couldn't even be bothered to put his face in front of a camera. This is just an audio clip.
Yep.
That's all he could be bothered to do. Yeah.
He also never manages, at least from what I recall. I listened to it twice. And then mostly I was putting the assets together for the show, so I was just paying attention to trying to do that kind of stuff. But he never once goes, and I'm worth $500 million. I'll reach into my pocket and take out what's $250 million or whatever, because he does lead. He does talk about that.
He's not chipping in. It's not, hello everybody, I hope you're having a good evening or Merry Christmas. It's just, well, I said to Neville all those years ago, blah blah blah, boring old fart. Sitting on his backside, you can almost hear the ice chinking in his whiskey glass. In fact, I think you can on one of the later clips. Great, a lot of effort he put into it. I mean, it's only $500 million. I mean, he could have flown over got in his private jet, headed into Canada, put on a Superman suit a la Donald Trump, and got up on stage and done a performance. But no, he's going to sit in his armchair and waffle into a microphone held by one of his slaves, no doubt, in front of his ugly face. So, 0 marks for effort, Bruce.
Cheryl, did you notice, and maybe I'm misremembering this, but did you notice I noticed that whenever Bruce spoke, whatever microphone he was using had that like cathedral echo effect on, and then everyone else is just kind of like, like they're just normal.
Yes.
Is that something that he does intentionally, or am I just noticing that?
Oh, he probably did it intentionally.
That's the size of his man cave in his Sydney mansion.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it is a cathedral size. It's got 16-foot ceilings,
and you have to remember, just weeks prior to this, they had a Strive 23 meeting where they were putting out this plan for 2023 on how to make $90 million more for the school again. So this is back to back. This is why I'm so frustrated and ready to bring this shit down. Is because Strive 23 just happened a couple of weeks ago for 90 million. And now he's setting up this for $500 million. I don't get how they're still listening to this shit and playing into it.
Well, because nepotism seems to play a role in the leadership changes that happen at the top of the Brethren, right? Like there were two Taylors, right? There were two Symingtons, I believe, wasn't there?
Yeah. No, there's only one of those.
Only one of those? Okay. But now this is the second chapter of the Hales dynasty, and all for all the gamblers out there, it's probably a smart bet to think that Gareth or someone, one of Bruce's sons, is going to take over when Bruce ascends into heaven bodily form. Yes, that's probably a good bet. Okay, so we're going to listen to the second clip now. Second clip's a little bit longer. We're going to play it in full.
Yeah, the second clip isn't Bruce. This is just the belly of the presentation, and then Bruce puts a tail end on it.
That's right.
Spin. Yeah.
But part of the exclusive that we're showing is that this information was only supposed to be seen by Brethren.
Oh, yeah,
or
this
Brethren.
was never supposed to.
Yeah.
This wasn't supposed to come to our hands.
No. It's unfortunate for Bruce that it did. I'm really sorry about that, Bruce. But we're also going to spotlight pretty much everything.
I'm just watching the sniper approaching the window behind you, James.
Yeah. They're
so
probably
just hit that button quick. Even if you get shot, it'll still play. So
they're probably drunk. They can't hit me. Okay, so here's the second clip, and again, listen intently, and we'll come back and we'll unpack it. Like I said, it's not really compelling audio, but it's compelling that we're playing it at all. So I'm going to play the second clip now, and I'll put the transcript up on the screen.
That said, of course, there'll always be a need for happy and cheerful givers. Yeah, so everybody can contribute, can't they? Whether it's an individual volunteering at the local school, volunteering at the local shop, or for RRT, whether it's a household or a business, taking advantage of UBT's products and services, getting the benefit of those, or whether it's participating in the current funding appeal. Whether you're young or whether you're old, you might be young, just out of school, developing your first budget and starting to give from your first pay packet. You might be getting on a bit, might be planning to leave a bequest sometime in the distant future. But everybody can contribute because each and every dollar counts. Of course, as we were reminded at V17, the concept of an endowment fund was set on many years ago. As the saying goes, the best time to have planted that tree was that nearly 30 years ago, but the second best time is today. And so the sooner those funds can be contributed, the sooner the funds can be built up, the sooner they can be put to work, and the sooner that vision can be realised.
Vision Foundation is our community endowment fund on this day. Jeremy Joyce talks about how it's tracking and why it's so important for building the future.
I'm going to just pause it there for a second because I find it alarming that a cute little child is being used to execute the grift.
Yeah,
and again,
that's child abuse.
Well, I mean, it's anytime. You know what? I was not a Greta Thunberg fan, not because I didn't like the little girl, but because I hated it when little people are put in the line of fire. Like especially for a political cause. Because there's an infallibility The right does it when they get children to hold signs of aborted fetuses on the side of the road.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't matter what the issue is. You're putting a child in the line of fire. It's politics. No place for children. But they're executing the grift. And for those who still are trying to figure out what the grift is Bruce Hales is trying to appeal through this PowerPoint quality presentation of his to his 50,000 followers worldwide to give him even more money, to just keep sending more money for an apparent endowment fund, which equals roughly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, the $500 million that they're trying to solicit from their followers is roughly the same amount of money that the UBT made in profits last year or something like that. Is that basically how it is?
Oh, they've got the money. They've already got $500,000 sitting there. They don't know what to do with it. No, I just did a sum here, and I'm not good at mathematics, but they've got 55,000 followers. That's including, of course, 10,000 children. If he's going to get his $500 million out of them, he will need to get $9,090 from every single man, woman, and child in that cult. I think he'll probably get it. Yeah.
Oh, he'll get it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, let's listen to the rest of the thing. Here we go.
We have the responsibility of taking community funds and investing that in the best possible opportunities to generate the greatest returns with the lowest risk. So we use the funds in the Vision Foundation and we deploy them into great businesses with great management teams that have really good opportunity for growth. Some that many would know would be Legend Rubber Products in Canada. And these are businesses that we've partnered with to drive ongoing growth that'll drive a return in dividends and grow the capital value or the asset value of that business. So far, we've deployed 42 million across 9 businesses, and we are actively looking at a range of others, and we go through a rigorous process of due diligence. We have developed this wonderful team within the Vision Foundation who are looking at a whole range of opportunities. We have a very strict filter, a great criteria that we need the businesses to meet. And when it meets that criteria, we know that we can invest and that will drive returns for years to come in a secure asset that will eventually come back to the ecosystem. The performance of the Vision Foundation is really, really important. So the way we track this, we measure ourselves to how some of our peers. Take the Harvard University, for instance. Their endowment fund, how is that performing? What's their strategy? And we understand what they're trying to do to get the returns they get. Generally, the returns of some of those larger endowment funds range between 6 to 10%. We can see a path to do quite a bit better than that because of the great businesses we're investing in, to have a great management team, and the opportunities to invest in a diverse range of other asset classes. The Vision Foundation is absolutely essential to funding the future generations. And if we could build a fund of scale where we had critical mass, let's take a number of $500 million. If we could do that and we could generate annual returns of, let's say, set ourselves a target of 20%, that would provide $100 million a year to the ecosystem.
Based on the modelling you've just seen on reaching financial sustainability, we've taken this information, sought to turn it into a tangible series of targets for each region. Each band in this model correlates.
Okay. I'm just going to skip that last little part. So there again, he lays out, Richard, you're the one that pointed out to me that the idea of a $500 million endowment fund by soliciting loans from the flock that you're already abusing and brainwashing, getting a 20% return.
And it's not loans, it's gifts. They're not loaning it to the fund, they're just giving it.
Yeah.
And it's complete fantasy. I mean, the United States talking about comparing it with our peers, like Harvard University. Really?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're right up at the top with Harvard. Not. But the basic math, the basic economics of it is this, that the current interest rate at the bank is about 4%. So these brethren businesses who've got massive collateral, they've got all these huge premises and value of the business, they can go and borrow money at 4%. They can borrow, a bunch of brethren businesses could get together and borrow $500 million at 4%. And if they could invest that at 20%, then of course they can pay the 4% interest to the bank and give the 16% profit, to the UBT, to the ecosystem, as they call it. So if they can get a 20% return, as they claim, that they don't need to take any money off the flock, off the general brethren. They can just get a bank loan because they're getting wildly in excess of the interest base rate.
I love how they say that Harvard is their peer.
Exactly, I know. Yeah,
you see how
Harvard's flattered? Yeah.
Like, do you see how they said? Like, and of course, they're not doing what Richard said because that's not the point. The point that Bruce Hales is trying to do is instill how faithful his followers are to him, right?
Oh.
Like everything he does is done with a purpose of showing and proving of how faithful his followers are. And like someone said here,
will go. Yeah.
how far they will go. Exactly. So if anybody doesn't think that the Kool-Aid could come, the Kool-Aid can come.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was just reading one of the comments. Someone said, that sounds like Jesus, eh? Like, really? That's what you sit back. And does this really sound like a mainstream Christian church?
It sounds like we all just, okay, welcome to orientation. This is part of the interview process, and you're the last 6 candidates who might come on board to whatever ridiculous company that you're applying for. Like it sounds like a training seminar.
And what church refers to their congregation as an ecosystem? I have never in my life heard of a church organization refer to the congregation as an ecosystem. And if there's some out there, please email me and let me know, because then I'll know that this is not as crazy as it sounds.
Church of David Suzuki, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, the joke there is that everyone who went to school knows that at the top of an ecosystem there's some large predators.
Yeah,
which is exactly what it is. And always in an ecosystem, the predator, there's a very small number of predators because it takes a very large number of prey species to support one predator. So, you get 55,000 mackerel and one large shark. And that's exactly what it is. There's this little clique right at the top of the brethren who are the feeding class. They're the pride of lions. And the rest, they're just a bunch of gazelles. And they're just feeding off them.
And that as they go through and they start trying to figure out, there's got this rigorous, strict profile of vetting everybody, you guarantee that it's a hierarchy again, right? That those at the bottom of the ecosystem sit there. Like we literally have reports of people having to go to a food bank to get food while Bruce Hales sit on a pot of gold that he has. He's out buying these $7.5-9 million mansions while some people of his congregation are going to the freaking food bank. Like this week I've been so riled up in the sense of the absolute ludicrous hypocrisy that we are sitting here and digesting out here. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm starting to not have words for what keeps on coming our way.
Well, I have I have words. Pig, trough, cult leader. And here's the thing. Whenever I look at the Plymouth Brethren, I look at it through a lens of both of your stories, first and foremost, because it should never be lost to anyone that Bruce Hales cares more about trying to take money from the people whose faith he has helped to weaponize. That is a higher priority to him than solving any of the abuse, the child abuse that's happening at several localities inside this cult. And you know what you're dealing with when you know what kind of animal that you're dealing with, and it is predatorial.
Yep.
When someone prioritizes their own personal wealth above the welfare of children in the very flock that he claims to be protecting and nurturing. So it's like it has so many different layers of filth and deceit, and I would say borderline. Well, I have to be careful because I feel like they're a litigious organization.
He's a crook. He's a crook. I'll say it for you. They can sue me and leave you alone this time. Yeah.
Good. I concur. But no one knows what I'm concurring with because I'm not specifying. So, but they are litigious. If this doesn't get them to send me some sort of notice, then Jesus Christ, I don't know where I'm going to go from here, but it will be.
They're
fun
not going to touch it. They won't touch us. I mean, my stuff is in the middle of an investigation. If they were to serve something, they're opening themselves up to a complete investigation of absolutely everything that they're doing. I mean, I'm going to call it illegal because it's illegal in the sense that what they profess to be, they are doing the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I would love to see Bruce Hales in court being cross-examined.
Yeah, exactly.
And the first question being, we know that this is a public hearing, and we know that there are mechanisms out there that will make sure that each locality gets a transcript of your testimony. Can you tell us now, in front of the court and under oath, if you communicate with Jesus? Right? Because these are the kinds of things that I think people need. Like, when maybe you guys can tell me, educate me here. Because if you're brought up in this cult and you feel like Bruce has an aura of a deity of sorts, and how powerful would it be, if at all, if Bruce Hales was under oath and he was like, well, I do talk to Jesus, or because then it would just be the whole court would be laughing. Or if he said, no, I don't. Would that like make the house of cards fall? Or would there be enough agents out there that would convince the flock that like, Bruce had to say that for the court. Eh?
Yeah, exactly. There's always an excuse for everything. They're behind him 100%, right? You could hook a lie detector up to him and it be going off as lies nonstop, and they would still have some sort of, reasoning for it. I mean, you look at the whole Mormon fiasco and what's his face that went to jail. I mean, they still carried on their sermons for how long? Still from the jail.
Still in jail, and they all still thought he was the best thing.
They would be ringing like this is how brainwashed he's got his flock. Is like when he first came into power, and my mom started giving me some conversations and trying to convince me to go back with everything that Bruce Hales was changing in there. Like he knew what he was doing. He hoodwinked them so intensely with all of these relaxations of rules that he gave them. But as he was doing that, he literally built this empire of a business over top of it that is now just going to soak them for every penny that they have, including where all of their, they're literally asking for bequests now. Like when you die, they're asking for these forms to be filled out now so that your money doesn't go to your family. It goes back to the church. He's got them. He has them on every door possible.
That's similar to the Walmart life insurance scam that was happening in the United States. Do you remember this?
No.
So people at Walmart, the spouses or the kin of people that worked at Walmart and those Walmart workers passed away, their family members would find out that Walmart had taken a life insurance policy out on them without them knowing. And then the money would just go to Walmart. Like how fucking ridiculous is that?
You know what? I'd be okay with that in a business sense. This is a mainstream Christian church, supposedly. Right? Yeah. Like that's the issue that I have with all of this, and the issue that everybody in there should have, and the issue that every ex-member should be sitting there thinking, okay, is it worth it to sit back and just let this go? So many people are like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like but that's your family in there. Like if that was me in there and I was hoodwinked, I would want to know that if I had family out here, that they were fighting for me and that they were trying to do as much as they could to break me free of what I was believing in there. That's what doesn't stop me, is that every single one of us ex-members should be sitting here listening to this right now, thinking of like, you know what, how can I get involved in this? What can I do to make sure that this gets exposed? Because it needs to get exposed and taken down.
Yeah. Well, let's try that. Let's listen to Bruce Hales himself. Again, this is a worldwide exclusive. No one has ever really heard Bruce Hales' voice outside of the members of the church. You can bet that Bruce Hales does not want me to play the following clip, which is going to make it all more rewarding when I press play right now.
And collecting your generous donations. We will now have the favor of listening to some distinctive recordings that will complete our presentation for tonight. We sincerely appreciate your continued generosity you taking the time to listen to the presentation, and thank you for your continued support of GFT. Thank you, and have a good night.
So that wasn't Bruce Hales. You're about to hear,
No.
This is Bruce Hales about to speak right now.
We've been wanting to revive this concept of an endowment fund for quite some years. Finally, we decided that we'd waited long enough because looking ahead, we know what the global economic cycle is. We know something about it. We know the uncertainties there are. We know the tremendous uncertainties there are in the leading governments in the world, USA and UK, Germany, France. Really, you wouldn't know what's going to happen, quite frankly, except we live in faith, and ahead of faith is righteousness. So my little story is
that was the
That was
rattling
the
of the
whiskey.
whiskey. Hold on. Let's listen to that again. If you listen closely, you can actually hear Bruce Hales, what we presume is whiskey, and the ice cubes rattling in his whiskey glass.
You can actually smell it. You can actually smell it.
so my little story
No, back a bit.
is
Yeah, you gotta go back a
live
bit
in
more.
faith, and ahead of faith is righteousness.
There it is.
Yeah,
So my little story, as Jason has used to press, that righteousness is ahead of faith. We just can't sit on our hands saying a boat will come in faith, a boat full of banknotes and gold coins, all that sort of stuff, will definitely come in, and it'll land in Boston or New York or San Fran or Portsmouth or one of the other.
What does that mean? Like, is he saying that we can't just rely on a boat full of money coming in? Is that what he's saying?
No, what his point is that Christians would tend to say things like, "Oh, we'll just pray about it and have faith that the money will turn up." And he's saying, "No, we actually have to take action. So you're actually going to have to pull out your checkbook and write me a check because
for a second I thought he was talking about his own life.
Saying.
I thought he was talking about his own life. Money just comes to me, guys. Like it just floats in the air and just lands in my pocket.
Oh well, yeah, that's for him. Yeah, no, this is yeah.
And by the way,
his boat comes in every day.
Well, Cheryl, just quickly. Someone actually told me recently. I can't remember if it was Damien Hasty or somebody else, but someone told me that the envelopes of cash thing is no more, and that it's wire transfer now, and they don't bother with the sending of the cash anymore. Can you guys confirm that, or is that just someone speaking out of turn, or do you guys know the answer to that?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, now they've got a universal, they've got a global network of interlinked businesses and charities. So I suspect it's easier for them to launder money through those rather than the literal envelopes of cash. I suspect they do. I mean, certainly until relatively recently, they were using the envelopes of cash. And the procedure was and they'd charter flights from, say, the UK to Australia. They'd fill up a big wide body airliner, and everyone would have someone on the plane would be carrying this vast quantity of cash, and then before the plane lands, it's divvied out to split up between everyone, so that no one was carrying over the kind of legal amount you're allowed into the country. So when they pass through customs, everyone's got below the $10,000 limit. And then when they've got through customs and they're officially in Australia, they all give it back to the original guy, and he puts it back in his backpack, and off they go. So it works.
Imagine working customs and you're like,
yeah,
oh, you have $9,900 too? Wow, that's the 30th person on this.
Identical white envelopes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, I just confirmed.
Plus, you all shop at the same fucking stores to get your clothes. This is crazy.
I just got it confirmed. It's wireless. So here's, I just want a really quick comment before
Yeah,
we
please.
go ahead.
Yeah.
So you know how he's talking about, the boat's not just going to come in. We've got to do this work. We've got to make it happen. Here's what they're telling everybody about my situation is that, God will take care of it. The Lord will take care of it. This will all be coming out, and it'll take care of itself. If we just got to give it to God. And I'm sitting there now, you hear this and I'm like, what a bunch of fucking hypocrites that they're going to sit there and they're going to apply this to their finances, but they're not going to apply that same ideology to sexual abuse with children.
Yeah.
God deals with that. They'll deal with the money. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's make the money come in, but we're not going to make these children safe. So we'll just let the Lord take care of that.
You know what it kind of reminds me of a little bit? And I'm sorry if anybody at home that's listening, took this seriously, but you really shouldn't have. Do you guys remember The Secret? Do you remember that shit?
Yeah.
Oprah was promoting it, and like basically every huckster that exists was basically on that promoting it. And so it was talking. It did something that I thought was like really egregious, which was that for those of us that don't believe in God, we like to think about things like synchronicity and things like that, and just try to figure out if there is a non-omnipotent being way of explaining why crazy things happen in life. And so one of these things is like the law of attraction, like you give what you get. And The Secret is like hard. It's like anchored in the idea of the law of attraction. But then like partway through the video that came out called The Secret, it pivots hard. It's a hard pivot to spiritualizing greed. So it's basically telling you that if you imagine yourself and believe that you will become successful in something, then it will find a way to get to you. And it was really manipulative. And it was just meant to get people to part with their money. And this kind of reminds me of that. But the only thing is that, where this differentiates is that they're not really talking about them getting anything in return. He wants the flock to really share his excitement about something getting built that won't benefit any of them. Whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so it makes it even like you need a cult in order to buy this shit. Okay, let's listen to the rest of this, and then we'll come back on the flip side, and let's see this one. I think it was
Cork or San Fran or Portsmouth or one of the other famous ports in the world. So that I think we've got to look ahead. Because the giver speaks about a cheerful giver, doesn't it? Cheerful giver. I was thinking about Zacchaeus, we read him a lot. I was thinking about this morning, he said to the Lord, "Hold, Lord," says, "half of my goods I give to the poor." He didn't lend to the poor, he didn't lend his goods to the poor, he gave to the poor, half. I think that's a principle we should follow as we're able for it, as we're equal to it. Half. Like Jose said, you've still got half left. So if you've got $1 million, you give half away, you've still got $500,000. And next year, if you make $500,000, you give a quarter away after all your expenses and everything, you've still got a quarter left. That's not too bad. It's not too bad, for goodness sake. How many years have we got left to live in any case? Sounds a bit radical, I'm talking about it. Let's talk about $1,000. I've got $1,000 spare, give $500 away, I've still got $500 left. It's not too bad, is it, Eric? 500? That's easy. Instead of buying $100 pants, buy $50 pants. Instead of buying $250 worth of sunglasses, I get them for $10. You'll pick the $500 up.
Wait. Was that canned laughter?
No, that's genuine. Yeah.
Are you sure? Because it sounded identical.
No,
do they also laugh in patterns? Because hold on.
Yeah, no, that's
let me just go back.
That's easy. Instead of buying $100 pants, buy $50 pants. Instead of buying $250 worth of sunglasses, I get them for $10. You pick the $500 up within about a month. Moses. Don't even buy anything new at all. Just spit polish and clean up the old ones. Now, this is the way of getting ahead, I'm promising you. If you practice it, you won't believe how you get it.
This is a billionaire trying
Right?
to give him money to make the required sacrifice so he can get even more money.
But the thing is, it's the half of my goods I give to the poor, P-O-O-R, the poor, and yet he's the fantastically wealthy billionaire, and the people he's talking to are struggling financially. And yet the brethren, they're so brainwashed that it never occurs to them that actually he should be talking about the poor giving to the rich, if that's what he wants to happen. I mean, the irony of it is huge.
I've in a very strange time in my life in 2009, I was in Miami, and this wealthy yoga, I swear I'm going somewhere with this, but this wealthy yoga instructor gave me and my business partner like $60,000 to house us and a bunch of DJs in a place called The Standard in South Beach. The Standard is like this spa boutique, like 5-star, $3,000 a night or $2,000, whatever it was, place where we lived happily for 6 weeks. But I was on the patio once, charging a ridiculously expensive meal to Yola, the yoga instructor, who made me sleep with her. But that's a whole other different story. But but anyways, I overheard a conversation on this patio that stuck with me. It reminds me of Bruce Hales. They were sitting there opening up their second bottle of champagne, and the entire conversation was how the financial crisis really made it clear that they had to tighten their belts. And then they paid their like $2,000 bill because they opened up their second bottle of Cristal. That's what it reminds me of. Like, it's not even tone deafness. It's a straight up grift. It's a charlatan's move. They're hucksters and con artists, these people.
Yeah.
And do you see how he subtly puts in certain things there? He plays on the economy. So he gets into their fears a bit, right? So it's the perfect way that he kind of puts this little butter on the bread and, gets in about how the economy is right now. It's just like this subtle play that he gets in there is like, oh, well, I'm going to play on this. And then he brings in this whole idea of a cheerful giver. Again, another play on, like, underneath his reign, to be called a cheerful giver, well, they'll just hand over the money.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he has these subtleties. So he might not be Jim Jones, but he sure has a lot of subtleties when he talks that just gets into you.
He knows his audience.
Very much he knows his audience. Yeah.
But imagine if he said it with an Italian accent,
Here we go with the Tony Soprano reference.
Yeah. So if you got $500,000, you give half away. You still got $500,000. And the next year you make like $500,000. You get a quarter away. And after expenses, you still got a quarter left. It's not too bad.
Well, the joke is that if he took his own scriptural advice and gave away half his, $2 billion fortune, he'd have his endowment fund right there.
Yeah. I mean, they just bought both those mansions. Like, I just don't get how the people in there can sit in there when this Strive 23 came out. That was 90 million that they were planning on making. Here's this is the potential of $500 million. And they just went and bought one's a weekender mansion for $9 million.
Yeah. And
Gareth or Dean had a $7.5 million mansion. While my parents are probably sitting in they're still same old house. All these people who don't have mansions. Why should, like, the hypocrisy is just ridiculous that it's like right there in black and white. Why are you buying these?
Yeah,
go ahead.
So the other thing to note in this presentation, and it may be in a section you didn't play, James, is there's multiple references to getting the ecosystem to a point where it's sustainable. Multiple references all the way through. And of course, the implication of that is that it's not currently sustainable. In other words, if we don't do anything, we're in debt, we're going to run out of money, it's all going to come down. And it's going to, and even into the detail of, well, here's a graph that shows if you give this much, if each of the businesses gives this much of their profits, then the ecosystem will become sustainable in this year. Now, that is a very, very blatant and egregious lie, because the fact is the Brethren system as a whole is running huge profits. Let me give you an example. They said in the second clip you played that they'd already deployed $42 million into a range of businesses. So they had $42 million to play with that they didn't need to use to fund the school. So they're just dishing this out around Brethren businesses. We know from Damien Hastie's research and from the public records online that in the UK, the Grace Trust, which is the kind of their main funding organ for Europe and the United Kingdom, at the end of last year, they had a surplus sitting there of, I think it was £32 million, about $50 million just sitting there that they didn't need after they'd paid for the school.
Wow. So,
okay, so there you've got 100 million sloshing around in their pockets that they don't need, and they're claiming the thing isn't sustainable. Well, the fact is it's been making a fat profit for years. But of course, they have to create this illusion of a crisis, of unsustainability, to kind of say, well, we must absolutely got to have just a whole load more money. And hidden in that, implicit in the whole endowment fund idea, is the idea that, well, if we have this endowment fund, then that's going to put a whole load of money every year, to pay for all the schooling and education. And then we won't have to come back for you for more money. So it's like the donkey and the carrot. Just give this one more time, and then we won't have to come back for you with any more money. Now, the funny thing about that is back in 2015, Bruce Hales gets up at a Brethren business seminar, and he makes the following pronouncement. He says, we have 4 more years to make money, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019, just 4 more years to make money. And then we're going to sell our businesses, and then we can just live on the capital till the rapture, till we all go up. Okay, now it's 2022, and everyone's forgotten about the 4 more years to make money, because again, it was the carrot and the donkey. Just work for 4 more years, then we can all sit back and, we're all going to heaven, it's all good. So now roll out the same trick again. One more massive donation, just one more, just $500 million, and then we won't have to ask you for any more money. They'll be back next year, but for more.
Can I ask you to, Cheryl, we'll start with you. What would happen, and I know this is speculation, but since both of you were inside, I'm just curious if you could give me your opinion on what would happen if a member were to say something like, is Bruce or Gareth going to be giving any money to the endowment?
You'd be out.
You would be out?
Oh, you just don't question. We have.
Didn't know that.
Yeah,
it's the best question.
Yeah.
Because it would show that you're questioning Bruce Hales. We did a podcast on Get a Life. That was this week, wasn't it, Richard?
Yeah.
So we sat down with an ex-member who literally went through exactly why he's sitting out now. It's because he asked questions like that.
Yeah, just like that. Just exactly like that. Yeah.
Literally called them out in church. He called them out.
I'd be like the first 6-year-old to be ejected from the Plymouth Brethren.
Yeah.
But those are the questions. Yeah. I truly believe that if there's, and I mean, I know there's a lot of people inside there that are questioning Bruce. 100%. There's lots of them.
But not out loud. Not out loud. In their heads.
In their heads. And I've been telling them in my emails lately that, you know what? They all need to just get together and start some sort of a club. It's like, let's challenge Bruce Hales Club and find a way to stand up to him. Because the thing is I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and she looks at me and she says, the system's not broken, Cheryl. There's nothing broken with that system. That system is doing exactly what it was designated to do. It's to keep people trapped. And
to make a lot of money in the process.
And to make a lot of money. Yeah. Exactly.
It's a farm. It's a livestock farm. Yeah, that's all it is. They're just sheep. They're just cattle. And there's these big fat predators that just cull them and milk them and take advantage of them. When they're no use, they kill them off.
Yeah, it's not even a Ponzi scheme, because there's no, it might be a Ponzi scheme as far as the government is concerned when it comes to tax time, but it's just a straight up grift. And this is like that reoccurring theme with the Brethren about weaponizing faith and then monetizing the brainwashing. You know, and that's kind of like, that's what separates it from Jim Jones and David Koresh, and what makes it more like the Scientology. I forget that guy's name.
Miscarriage or something.
Yeah, miscarriage. David Mascroft or something like that. Anyways, whatever his name is, you know, it makes it more like that. The how money buys you a higher level in the caste system that was designed within the organization itself.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess and people who ask questions or people that don't give money are relegated to the bottom feeder level. You know, and people that actually give money are I guess elevated to a point where they're permitted to give even more money. Which is just
I just get sad thinking of my especially my mom. Like I used to, when I would talk to her when she was busy getting ready for their bake sales, and she has really bad arthritis, and it's just those are the things that I think about when anybody questions me on what I'm doing. And I'm like, I'm doing that for her. She's going to see me as the absolute devil right now, but I don't care about that. What I care about is making sure that I can take the cult out of that church and bring this down, because again, it's not a broken system. He's got everybody trapped in there because that's exactly what he wants. But I am going to try now, take it down so that it can maybe have a chance to become a mainstream Christian church. And my parents can see what it's like to be inside a real church. And my siblings can see what it feels like to be inside a real church. But I guess I just sit here tonight and I'm like, I am pleading with the ex-members right now. Like literally pleading. You got to shit or get off the pot. We have got to take this serious. We have got to step up our game, and we have to do this for our family that is in there.
I think that was very well said. Also, just to circle back a little bit of miscarriages, Richard, who is this?
Oh, this is Gareth. This is Gareth Hales, and the reason I asked you to put him up here is that Bruce is in fact fairly elderly, and he's in the advanced stages of alcoholic addiction, and I strongly suspect that they've locked him in the basement with a plentiful supply of his favorite tipple, and the whole thing is actually run by Gareth. I mean, this is exactly what Bruce did to his father for the last 5 years of his father's life. So I'm pretty certain you'll find that the next generation is actually running the show, and the oldest is this charming fellow called Gareth. Now, the interesting thing about Gareth is that among many other crimes, his company Unispace got, I think it was a 600 million COVID PPE contract with the UK government or the UK National Health Service, and only supplied about 450 million worth of goods. So he owes the UK government a staggering sum of money. And my comment is to the brethren that this is the person that you're entrusting with your $500 million endowment fund. I mean, look at him. Would you buy a used car from this person? Would you trust this man with your?
I feel like I would buy
money?
cocaine from him. That's
right.
You probably
like any cocaine. Yeah.
It'd probably be talcum powder, knowing him. But yeah.
That's interesting. You know, you would know better than I would, but I kind of feel like that Bruce still seems to be firmly in charge, and I feel like his sons are obedient because they know who. You know, they know why they're there and they know what their role is. And I think nepotism is just going to, like, passing the torch to someone in your own family. It seems too cute. Like, it's, you know, like, why wouldn't it last forever? This is what I don't really understand about the Plymouth Brethren is how, and I think when we had Mr. Fox on, he didn't really understand either how leadership was selected or how leadership changed hands. Because, you know, if Hales, if Bruce Hales, you know, is speaking on behalf of Jesus, and then he hands it to his son, presumably his son through the power of awesome genetics, also received the God gene where he can speak directly to Jesus. Wouldn't that just keep going? Are we eventually, do you think,
Well, no,
see...
but he is
Yeah.
Jesus. So of course the genetics are much simpler. I mean, he's just the son of God, the son of the son of God, or the son of the son of the son of God. I mean, it's hereditary spirituality.
And I mean, those his sons will do anything for that kind of cash. They know what's coming to them, right? I mean, they know exactly what's coming to them, and they'll do anything their father asks them.
There's a very interesting prospect, and that is if you look at hereditary dynasties, sometimes there's extremely bloody fights when there's more than one person in the next generation as to who's going to have a grab. Now, the situation is that out of Bruce's sons, the oldest two, Gareth is the oldest, but he's a loose cannon and has all kinds of problems. He's very, very successful in business. The next one down, Dean, is also hugely successful, but he's a much more cleverer, more intelligent guy. And I can see when Bruce finally pops his clogs, there's going to be a massive warfare, and it may even split the whole Brethren into a Gareth faction and a Dean faction. Yeah, it's all going to be great fun. If it lasts that long, it could be really interesting.
I don't know.
They'll be hiring rival teams of private investigators. I mean, David Wallace might be back in business. He could work for both sides, He
probably is right now. Seriously. Fucking guy. Okay. Let's wrap it there. Listen, I'm going to write a piece about this for deanblundell.com and blackballedmedia.ca. I advise everyone just to share wide, not because I care about the traffic. I don't make money from these articles that I post. I just want the word to get out. To see if Brucey finds a way to react to the fact that his voice and his rattling whiskey-soaked ice cubes are being broadcast now without his permission. Call it what you want. I mean, I would love to keep receiving these types of audio messages because I agree with you, Cheryl. Full tilt. I think there. And listen, it's not actually my place to say, but I do agree with you and your sentiment and your message to people that are leaving or that have left or that are still inside or that are trying to shed light on this organization, that it's time to sort of take the gloves off and stop dipping your toe into the pool and jump in.
It's not cold. It's very inviting.
Yeah, they pissed in the water. It's warm. It's inviting. It's great. Like it's one of those. But really, for real though, like it's not the fact that we're exclusively playing Bruce Hales' voice. It's not really about the clicks at this point. It's about the significance of lifting the curtain, right? Like really, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to lift the curtain so we can see the pig that lives behind it, right?
And I want everybody to know, James he's not getting paid for this. I'm not getting paid for this. Richard's not getting paid for this.
I wish I was, but no, I'm not.
I know, that's what I said too. But what they're telling people inside there is that everything that we're saying, we're getting paid to say. And so I just...
Nice.
Right?
Please send email transfers to james.defury@gmail.com because I'm not getting paid nothing. I would totally accept the payment, but
that's why I have my email address up there.
Well, we could set up an endowment fund just to fund our future podcast, couldn't we? I mean, half of it would.
Yeah,
but then we'd have to climb into the slime and be like, "Don't worry, if you got $50 pants, you can just spend $25." I can't do Australian accent. It falters right up to the first syllable. I can't do it anymore.
Oh, we should probably just add. I tried to find out the copyright information on this broadcast because I no doubt, very very likely it's copyright, but we should attribute it anyway to Bruce D. Hales, the man himself. Thank you, Bruce, for assumed permission to rebroadcast. Or it may be copyright by UBT or any of the other exclusive Plymouth Brethren Christian Church enterprises. Anyway, whoever it is, we give you full credit for your creativity and imagination. It was stunning, and we're very privileged to be able to reproduce it.
We would love to.
I speak on behalf of I speak on behalf of Blackballed and the Dean Blundell Network.
Yes, you do. Yes.
Yeah, and we would love to be paid for airing it. Like that would be
Yeah.
awesome if you could
Oh,
give us just a
imagine.
little tiny chunk for giving you this service of, you know, an hour and 10 minutes of
Spreading the good news, going forth into the world and spreading the gospel. It's a wonderful gospel message, just in time for Christmas. Merry Christmas, Bruce, if you're watching this. I'm sure
Yes,
you
Merry
will be.
Christmas. Well,
Yeah.
well said. That's why
Yeah.
I tilted my.
Yeah.
Usually, I have my laptop tilted that way with my awesome retro blue thing that's dying. It's like.
I should really have got the Santa hat for this one.
yeah.
Oh, I have one of those too somewhere, but yeah. But no. Listen, guys, thank you for joining me. We're not going to let the story die. I'm going to put up something tomorrow. I'll I'll start flushing out this podcast, and we'll do another show later on this week. Just sort of reiterating and seeing what the blowback might be. I have no idea if there'll be any blowback, if they'll just ignore it, or if there'll be more people sort of climbing out of the woodwork with their own recordings or their own stories or whatever. I've already received a few emails since this podcast started, so I'll sift through those. But
And anybody can email me, inside, outside, ex-members, on how you want to help. We need to up our game.
Yeah, it's Cheryl. For those that are just listening and not watching, it's CherylHope@proton.me. So that if you want to get in touch with Cheryl. So guys, thanks for stopping by. Do you guys have anything else that you want to leave us with, or are we good? No?
Thanks, Bruce.
It's so good.
Big shout out to Bruce Hales for supplying all of the content that we needed to do a robust show that ended at an hour and 11 minutes. That's 11 minutes longer than I normally go, and we owe it all to
we
you,
invite
Bruce.
him. We invite him onto any show at any point. We would love to sit down.
That's right.
And
see his lovely face.
Yeah, I want to have a conversation with him, and let's clean this mess up.
Oh, you know what I'm doing? Actually, I'm gonna I'm gonna play the track that I did.
Yes.
Let's see, where are we here?
This
Okay,
is
so
your
I'm going to
Christmas
play the
present.
track that I did. For those who don't know, I think it was played on the Lynn's Report. So I don't know how many people have actually heard this, but I did a track just because I felt like it doing. I got really high and I was like, I'm going to write a track, so I did. Richard really loves it because he's she has such a deep, profound appreciation for hip hop music that he just was like, James, this is dope. This isn't whack as fuck whatsoever. And I was like, oh my God. No, I'm just kidding. Richard hates rap music. So
It hits my rage list all the time. It's on my playlist.
yeah. Okay. So we'll lead you out with that. And then you know what? I'm not going to do an intro or an outro. I'm just going to lead you out with the track and then we're going to be off here. So Cheryl Hope, Richard Marsh, thank you very much for joining us. And for everyone at home, if you don't like hip hop music, then just
It's so good. You did such a good job on it.
I can't wait to do the video. Thank you, Cheryl. I want to do a video. If there's anyone listening out there, DaCosta, I'm looking at you. But if anyone's listening out there that knows a simple way to do lyric videos or something like that, can you get in contact with me? Because I don't do that shit. And we want this. My vision is, and Cheryl, Richard, maybe before we go, you can tell me how realistic this is. But because the chorus is throw your locality up in the air and set it on fire like you just don't care. I was kind of hoping that it would become the anthem for members who were thinking of leaving. Right?
They could put it in their hymn book, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could.
Yeah, we
Oh
could
my
give
God,
it a
that'd be
number.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That's like when Bart Simpson put to the morning of Jesus, honey. I can't remember what it was called, but he put a Satan song in the church hymn choir, and he almost killed the organist, who was like 80. Anyways, okay, so I'm going to leave you with this track. Thank you for joining us, Cheryl and Richard, and we'll see you next time on Blackballed.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Yeah.
Those on the track.
Way back in the day, in 1848, this guy named John Darby set out to create a secret way of life where they would not associate with other types of people if those people didn't share faith. Baptized in scorn, families torn. The Plymouth Brethren Christian Church is now officially born. Cult life is forever, and if you ever leave, you're vilified, ostracized, minimized, please, on receiving ends of lies. All the crooked eyes all the last goodbyes to all your family ties. You can see it in their eyes, it's vacant. Either you a Plymouth Brethren or you Satan. 55,000 deep, they make millions per week through the UBT, then they do not keep receipts. It's a score. Shit, I think I've seen the show before. A fat guy, envelopes of cash, where's your pork store? Babies indoctrinated and raped and isolated, disgraced. Check the state of the faith, it's complicated complaints. It's all on deafness, you hate this. Places you stayed as a kid were never sacred. The doctrine of separation was written by psychopaths, snatching kids from parents who decided that they want to take a pass on pedophilia, molestation, manipulation, felony fraud. Bruce Hales, you're not a god. What kind of a god eats at the trough with the other pigs? Sloppy piece of shit gods and the piece of shit kids stealing food from the mouths of the kids you abuse for a second mansion, a plane, and a yacht too. I assume you will soon speak with Jesus too. But shit, you got lunch with Nosferatu at you. You blew Jesus like a Ronald McDonald. The business model, bravado, providing bottomless fodder for bottom feeders, beholden to the bottle. Bloated on the side of the road, it's throttled up and it's cold. It's sort of a metaphor for out of control. Now rise up from the flames, crease away from the fold. Yeah, throw your locality up in the air. Set it on fire like you just don't care. Go on then, like a Bedouin, and turn around and lick a shot at the brethren. Throw your locality up in the air. Set it on fire like you just don't care. Go on then, like a Bedouin. Now turn around and lick a shot at the brethren. I got hope like Cheryl, but most of the time I just want to bust a couple of barrels or a 9 like De Niro, or design war plans, attack the whole clan, make stacks from the old men who diddled and ran. Sinister plans include darkest shit in human nature. Gaying in the brethren, they chemically castrate you. You don't contribute dollars, you're sentenced to the bottom, with weekly priestly visits that accentuates the problem. And hell on earth is Maple Creek, and I know it hurts, but get off your knees and excise that cancer. The pedophiles dance to apathies. Now switch up the playlist, the chance to face this. It's more than a facelift. You're gonna need a spaceship if you are attempting to escape this. See through trees like you're blunted, and big ups to Richard Marshman. Now the hunter is the hunted, cause when night falls and the fat man crawls, someone please let him know he's not welcome on Blackballed. In fact, yo, I make it my mission. I will not rest until this motherfucking cult is out of commission. So throw your locality up in the air. Set it on fire like you just don't care. Go on then, like a Bedouin, or turn around and lick a shot at the brethren. Throw your locality up in the air. Set it on fire like you just don't care. Go on then, like a Bedouin. Now turn around and lick a shot at the brethren.
I'd like to give a big fuck you to Bruce Hales.